Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Mattson.
I say, better read than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead, hit all the buttons, follow, subscribe, bell, notification button. Yeah, all of them. Just hit them because that'll tell you when we're doing episodes live. Otherwise, tell your doctor about us. I've got a lot of doctors in my life these days, so tell them about us. I've told a couple actually, because nurses are very talkative when you're sitting and hanging out in the hospital. So
I don't know if nurses should be listening to this, but if they want to,
hey, provide some weird entertainment in a weird situation. So
it'll get them through that 47-hour shift they've got going on.
Shit. No shit. But yeah, we appreciate you tuning in. We are here to talk about 65. It was released March 10th, 2023. It was written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It was also directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Stars. This cast list is massive. Adam Driver, Ariana Greenblatt, Chloe Coleman, Nika King, and Brian Dare. That's literally it. Yeah, and one of them is a voice of the ship. So there was literally 4 people in this movie. I love it.
Keeping costs down.
Yeah, exactly. An astronaut crash lands on a mysterious planet only to discover he's not alone. What a terrible synopsis. Thanks, IMDb. But there we go. If you haven't seen this movie and for some reason want to avoid spoilers, go ahead and pause the podcast now. Go watch the movie, come back, pick up where you left off, because we are going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
I think I need to provide a better synopsis of this movie.
I'm all for it.
I don't even know Adam Driver's actual character's name. We'll just call him the astronaut. He's not an astronaut, people. He happens to be the person driving the ship, but he's asleep because human beings sleep. An asteroid belt, the one that wipes out the Earth 65 million years ago, happens to be there, but their super crazy tech didn't calculate that this massive asteroid field was going to be there at this time. Don't ask me how that happens. Crash lands on Earth, bunch of dinosaurs. His technology is like somewhat acceptable. There's this girl that is on the ship that didn't die that he has to save. They're trying to get back. And yeah, so he's not really an astronaut and he's just trying to get home. Heard this story before. But it's like Jurassic Park meets Predator meets like The Martian.
I love Mattson synopses.
Me too. We should just hit stop recording and be done now. That was
pretty much it.
I mean, it's about it with all the post-production things and the scrambling of this. Like that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of issues.
First one being, and maybe I was just stupid. Why couldn't that girl speak English like he could?
They were different regions of this planet or something like that. So it'd be like someone speaking, German to you.
You'd think that, hey, if we're going to wherever we're going to do research, maybe we should be able to speak the same freaking language.
Well, she could with her parents, who probably knew what was going on.
I don't know.
And also, if you're that like technologically advanced, you start relying on your technology. So they had like these translators that he said were broken. So why bother learning a language if the computer will do it for you?
So the translator was broken, but all the other tech that he had wasn't broken. Rather,
exactly
for the plot of this story. It's like
it's plot armor.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I was actually okay with it because if they had been able to communicate better, we would have had more dialogue. And I just don't know. I think it would have been overdone. I will say that, look, Adam Driver is amazing. Even in this semi-turd of a film, he's the best part of the movie.
He's the only part of the movie.
I mean, that's fair. And I will say, Casey made a point, because I was obviously less than thrilled with the movie. But Casey actually was like, I didn't hate it as much as you did. because, and she made a good point. She goes, look, it was weird. She goes, it was strange. It felt forced in a lot of ways. She goes, but at the heart of it was this very human story that was portrayed very well through Adam Driver and his emotions with his daughter and the whole thing with his family. And then the girl who also was going through her own emotional issues and having to deal with all this stuff around the dinosaurs and the weird things that were going on and having to trust this person that she's never met before who's kind of a dick. And so it's like, if you take away all the weird dinosaur mounts or not, or Old Faithful, odd ass shit that's in this movie, at the heart of it is a pretty decently human, interesting story. It's just surrounded by some weird bullshit, like giant ass crocodiles that I don't understand the physics of or the anatomy of. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. She turned me around a little bit on the heart of the story. The two of them were interesting to me because they were. I did catch myself being interested in their story and how they were interacting and the difficulties and the fact that deep down, even though they could barely communicate verbally, they were still figuring it out, and you could tell that they were connecting in a certain type of way. But every time there was a dinosaur on screen, I was like, Jesus Christ, this movie sucks. And then the fact that this little girl wasted every single fucking bomb on one dinosaur, I was like, wait, but you only need one. Like, you set the perfect trap. Just use one, not the whole bag.
Don't be stingy with your ammo, JJ. You want to quadruple tap that son of a bitch.
I suppose that's fair. I mean, just a little bit of overkill, but whatever.
Well, I thought it was funny with that scene, particularly. Like, you have to squeeze that thing to like activate it.
Well, that's true too.
The bag and they start it off. So, fair. Like, I really enjoyed the concept of this movie, right?
Sure.
Or the idea that they were going with. Thought it was amazing. And I enjoyed the fact that, we didn't get any dialogue because that made the humor more funny because it was more physical humor. Instead of relying on a one-liner, it was the fact that they couldn't communicate back and forth. They're using gestures and everything. So I really enjoyed that. But, oh my gosh, I was having such a field day. Anytime, like you said, JJ, there was a dinosaur on screen. Like, especially this heartwarming moment where they pull the baby one out of the tar pit, only for it to get ripped to shreds like 3 seconds later.
I laughed. I was like, hey, that's like a real Last of Us bunny rabbit video game moment. I was like, oh, look, it's so cute. Arrow through the neck.
So I had fun. And I think the fact that they kept it short, right, with like a 90-minute runtime, kept it enjoyable. If they had stretched it out another 15 minutes, I think I would have been a lot more upset than I was. But as it stands, I was like, okay, I'm not mad that I went to go see it necessarily. But yeah, if it had been a little bit longer, I probably would have had a much harsher words.
For me, like, the expectations were low, and seeing it didn't make it better, but it wasn't. It's not like it was bad. Like, we've seen much worse movies. Again, the runtime, I got a compliment. I'm like, can we keep more movies closer to this runtime? That Hollywood I just expected 2 hour 15. That's just kind of like the norm now. I'm like, maybe we should make the norm an hour 30 again, because it can make a somewhat crappy movie not as bad. Because, like, Cocaine Bear, for instance, was another one we did that was just shorter. It's not like it was a great movie, but they fit enough in. There wasn't really more to do, but all these other movies are adding 20 to 30 minutes of fluff, and you're just like, yeah, like, let's stay away from that. So that's something this movie did really well. I will also say this felt like I was back in 65 million years ago. Like, the scenery, the tar pits, where they were at, like, I felt like they did a good job showing that. The dinosaurs that they portrayed, I don't know how factually correct all that was. But at times this movie, like, it felt like it wanted to be kind of a horror thriller suspense, and then it wanted to be an action movie, then it kind of wanted to be funny, and that's where I feel like it fell short for me is it didn't truly identify what this movie was trying to be.
I'll agree with that. And
they failed on the horror aspect. I wasn't scared at all.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Resident horror, but they tried to set like that suspense and things. But you're like, this is a dinosaur movie where people die. Like, they didn't lean into it correctly.
Well, and the real problem is you got 4 people in this movie, and 2 of them aren't on this planet. So plot armor anybody, you know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking way either of these characters are dying, to the point that about 3/4 through the movie, I leaned over and whispered to Casey, I was like, apparently they look human, but goddamn are they freaking tough, because Adam Driver gets his ass beat through. Like, this is Die Hard times 10 type shit this motherfucker's going through.
He's got titanium bones.
Seriously, I'm like, when he fell out of that tree, I'm like,
oh,
I'm fucking done. Like, it's like, this guy, and then he's standing there, and she stands on his arm to pop it back into place, and then immediately starts shooting a gun on that shoulder. I'm like, not so much. I was like, dude.
Hey, there's no recoil from those super futuristic guns, JJ. Come on.
Yeah. Fuck. That was I'm like, okay, can we make them look a little less human at very least? Because I'm having a hard time with the correlation of the amount of damage this guy can take.
Well, the other problem I think that happened is with how gruesome and vicious they made the dinosaurs, which is probably like humanity was not the king back then. Let's be straight up about that. It didn't feel believable that they would have even survived as long as they did. There's too many of them. They're everywhere. They're, like you said, Adam Driver's getting his ass beat. I don't know. I feel like they came in a little too hard swing. I'm like, they're gonna die. Like, they could have died 4 times already.
Dude, he's dead as soon as he steps out of his ship, and there's that one in the water that's swimming around.
Yeah, you really.
I was waiting for like Star Wars get yanked under, but no, it didn't happen. I was like, oh, he's dead. That's it. We're done.
Nothing. There was some, and I get that he had the advanced tech, the gun, but this gun was inconsistent. Like, one minute it took 3 or 4 shots to take one down. The next minute he blows out fucking T-Rex's knee with 1 shot, and I'm like, hold on. I'm fine if this dude has. In fact, I would have rather been like on a Doom tear, right? Where this dude's got like a BFG and he's freaking blowing shit up left and right. Like, all the dinosaurs are like, whoa, my bad. You're good. Let us clear you a path, right? Like, I'd have been okay if he's blowing shit up with this gun until he meets the granddaddy of all dinosaurs, and it's like doing chunks instead of blowing it. But the gun was so inconsistent, because at one moment it's like super shotgun, and the next minute it's like a pea shooter, and I'm like, wait. We need some consistency here. And I think that's my issue with this whole movie more than anything, is like the inconsistencies, right? Like, he's either hurt or he's fine. He's either they can communicate and she understands everything he's saying, or she doesn't understand shit. And you know what I mean? So there was just like this weird back and forth of sometimes things were working perfectly and other times things were fucked up for the sake of, we need to feel like there's some drama and stress here. And to be honest with you, I would have been, and again, I've said this a million times on movies that have worked, where you have, it's this type of movie with this shit going on in the background, or they try too hard to make it the shit that's going on in the background and forget about the actual story that they have here. I think I would have liked this movie more if the majority of it was, let them have be able to communicate better. Even if they can't communicate perfectly, let them communicate better and have this relationship develop more in front of us through the travel, and then have smaller scenes of dinosaurs versus every fucking 10 feet these guys move, they're running into more shit that's trying to kill them. And I get that that's the nature of where they're at, but I don't think you're walking through the rainforest, and that, like, most of these little dinosaurs, I really think are probably similar to most animals, right? most animals, when they see a creature like us they've never seen before, are like, no, that doesn't look right. What's these weird pink fucking two-legged creatures walking across the land? We're going to run away.
I'm pink sometimes.
Well, sure. I mean, technically, neither of them were pink, but...
Well, I would say most animals, you're correct, JJ, but most animals are not dinosaurs, so maybe they're the opposite.
Sure, but they're still lizards, right?
All these dinosaurs are like food.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even the little ones, I'm like, they do that because of their natural...
But they're like,
prey
we have
for them,
lots
right?
of teeth, and teeth are king.
No,
Yeah,
size is king.
Exactly. Well, and see, and that's fine. Like, if it's the big ones, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because very little scares. It's like a fucking bear, right? Like, you can clap and scream at a bear, it will run away. Technically, we're not higher on the food chain from a power destruction perspective than a bear. We can still scare one, because it's like, what the fuck is that? The dinosaurs, in my opinion, should have acted the same way, with the exception of Big Papa, right? Like, that dude's like, I don't give a fuck what you look like. I'm going to eat you, right?
Call
like
me Big Pop.
That's so. For me, like, it would have made more sense if, like, the travel and we have a little slower move, but with 90 minutes, you can make it work. And then they have this really very cool human story surrounded by dinosaurs in apparently either Montana or Wyoming.
So this movie couldn't have been made without Adam Driver, or any like bigger celebrity, because then I don't think anyone would have seen it unless he wasn't in it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Adam Driver, why are you taking a movie like this? Are you trying to prove that, hey, I can act and carry a movie basically by myself, and prove to me I can do that and show people I can do that? I'm just trying to figure out what was in it for him.
Well, this movie kind of went through production nightmare shit. I think, in my opinion, my guess is he took it because I'm with Alec. I like the concept of this movie. Like, I think it's interesting. The idea of they crash land on a 65 million year old Earth. I also would have liked to have seen, maybe how the human genome was left on this planet because of this, you know what I mean? Like, which they didn't lean into. So I think there's some misses that they had there. But to me, like, Adam Driver is looking for an opportunity. He does some weird films. Like, he does some interesting stuff. So I think, to me, the concept was probably pitched very different. He signed up for it, got into a contract, decided to make the film. It went really shitty, but he also, every time I've watched interviews or listened to him talk, he's also not the type that's like, this movie's going to suck, I'm going to quit. Like, he just is the kind that he's committed to it. He's going to do it. And he's a good enough actor that he's still going to get jobs. I don't think this ruins Adam Driver's career. You know what I mean?
He wasn't bad. Like, he was fine. I was just curious.
Yeah.
His thought process.
Yeah, I don't know that he ever thought of it as, I'm going to carry this movie to the finish line. I'm sure that there was some more interesting ways that it was pitched, and then the production issues and the studio issues just made it difficult. So.
Okay. So I like this movie pretty much for the majority of it, in the sense that, I wasn't mad that I was sitting in a theater watching it.
Yeah.
Until we get to the end, where this fucking 9-year-old outspeeds a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, yeah.
With a spear thrust that only Achilles can do.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And it would be kind of a perfect moment, in my opinion, or at least kind of a cool one, if she just hit the button to launch, right? Like, deuces Adam Driver.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I was waiting for it. I was like, if I was in the shuttle, the pod, as soon as that thing goes right side up, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not in the boat, you're not getting out of the planet. But then we have this kind of chase scene, which, even though he's got a busted leg, he's able to outrun a Tyrannosaurus Rex. But at least the dinosaur is gaining, right? There's ground being made up. So I'm like, okay. Until, flying in from screen right comes the 9-year-old who
doesn't look like a 9-year-old, by the way.
Yeah, it looks like a 49-year-old.
Yeah.
And comes flying in, and that's where I was like, okay, this is just a little bit hobnob thrown together. Kind of the worst ending in my opinion. So leaving the theater, I was like, it was enjoyable, but where you're supposed to want to make me want more, you failed. Because I was like, really?
Yeah. Well, and especially after she had the genius move of using the projection of his daughter to trick the first one, I was like, that's smart. I like this. And then he uses the super shotgun to kill it with one shot. So I was like, okay, but yeah, I'm with you. First of all, she doesn't look 9. I mean, at least make her like 12. That would have been much more realistic. Yeah. But it's obvious that this girl's like 14, 15 in real life. I was like, she's a little big for a 9-year-old. Like, okay. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I was like, apparently that was the perfect
that's where I got pulled out.
And the other piece was like, I would have been more happy with the T-Rex. That was like giant freaking crocodile that moved at a snail's pace, like, which doesn't make any sense because alligators and crocodiles are very fast. They just can't run for long distances. And these ones have less of an issue because they don't have the little stubby legs. They got like serious like legs, which I was like, these things should be moving, but not so much. I was like, and it just looked weird. I think that one would turn me off the most. Yeah.
It was clenching.
Yeah. That one turned me off the most was the aesthetic of those weird crocodile. I was actually happy because they made velociraptors the real size of velociraptors versus Jurassic Park velociraptors.
Unless they're Utah Raptors.
Well, sure. I mean, but they look different than actual velociraptors. Velociraptors are just big chickens. I mean, that's pretty much, and I was like, oh, look, they actually made velociraptors look like velociraptors.
And then the crocodile comes.
And then I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, that's weird. And what the fuck was this ocean in Montana? Like, when she's on the beach, I'm like, okay, I get that we're 65 million years ago. We're probably sitting on Pangea, not friggin' a normal. But was that like the Great Salt Lake before it became a lake? Like, what the fuck are you playing at here? Like, just leave the beach out. Don't make me confused.
I don't have as much a problem with that because the things could have been.
I'm nitpicking now because it's funny.
Extremely different at that point. Like, yeah, who knows?
I'm nitpicking now just to be funny. But I was like, but those are the things that I think about, which pull me out of a movie. I'm like, now what body of water would that be? Because it looks like an ocean or a very large lake. And I realized that most of Utah was probably underwater back then, but I was still like,
something's not right.
Yeah. But I'm with you, Alec. Like, I was entertained for most of the movie, even with all of my irritations. And I will say that even with the 90-minute runtime, I was like, it's about time for this movie to end. Like, it felt like it was getting long because there's only so much you can do without having some additional character development, which is hard to do when you've put yourself in the box that they did, right? There's a low level of communication available. It was even hard to imagine how she understood half of what he said. So, because that was the funniest part. I think that's what I laughed the most about because I was like, this is funny because they had to do some of it. He talks to her like she understands him the whole time. And kudos to the girl, the actress, because she just would stare at his ass like, but then she'd always figure out doing what he was saying. But I'm just like, dude, she doesn't understand a word you're saying, but you just keep on flapping those jaws at her, dude, like she does. It was interesting. But at the heart of it, I enjoyed their little story. And I'm glad he got some level of redemption. And I will say that I felt my heartstrings pull when she played the video to save him. And you finally see him. I'm like, you know what? That's a human moment because you got a dinosaur crocodile thing trying to eat your ass, and you still have to take the moment. That's how emotionally broke this dude was, that he still had the moment of like realizing he's been pent up in a lot of emotional ways. So I enjoyed. I just wish I could have gotten more of that. Like, I think I would have liked the movie more.
I agree. I was missing one human moment that I'm sure would have happened I didn't get, was Adam Driver, after he got the shit kicked out of him, saying this planet sucks. This is the worst. This is some bullshit. That never happened, and I know it would have.
Oh yeah.
So I was hoping for like just even something like at the end where they're flying off world, where it's like that planet sucked.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to understand necessarily the words, but you'll understand what he's saying.
Yeah. Or it would have been funny if he like sends some communication. We've escaped. Never come here. Like,
yeah, like, or it could have been like, yeah, we're thinking about colonizing that world. No, don't do it.
You said the air was breathable, right? Yeah, but the rest of it sucks. Well, I was just like, because I kept laughing too. I was like, man, this guy's got the worst luck on the fucking planet, even though he's the only one of 2 people on it, because he found and what the shit was that bug he pulled out of her mouth? Like, I would have opened her mouth and been like, well, sucks to be you, dude. I'm out.
I tried.
That part confused us. Like, what? Like, if that's happening back then, like, we're all dead. Like, there ain't nothing worth. If you sleeping and that's coming in, like, we can't do anything.
Yeah, that was terrible. Well, and I thought like she'd eaten one of the poisonous berries, right? Like, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I was like, did we just enter an alien movie? Because wow.
It's like, what's the point of setting up this perimeter?
Yeah.
If it doesn't keep anything out, like I thought it was some sort of repellent or.
Well, that was like some Star Wars Episode 2 stuff where you send in the little centipede to assassinate.
Yeah, that one grossed me out. I was like,
For historical purposes, the Utah-Montana area was last underwater in 260 million years ago. In 240 million, it came up above, and then this movie, we were kind of where we're at, where we're presently constituted, but we were much closer to Africa than what we are now.
Sure.
So there wouldn't have been a beach. Unless
those fucking liars.
It doesn't show that the Great Salt Lake could have been way bigger. And maybe it was.
Yeah. Well, because that's, what's funny is the first question Casey asked me, she goes, the beach threw me off. And I'm like, well, it was probably the Great Salt Lake, and it was just much bigger. She goes, I didn't think about that, but it was still stupid. She goes, they just didn't need it. They just wanted some scene with water in it. I was like, sure, I get it. It was funny.
I was kind of curious where the beach went, because that thing dragged her from like the ocean to Scotland.
Yeah.
that terrain changed from lowland beach to highland pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
I know those scenes can move, but
yeah. Well, and I kept laughing. I was like, how'd they get back to Old Faithful? Like, they went pretty far from where he started the movie, and yet we're back.
15 clicks.
Yeah.
So like 32,000 years ago, the Great Salt Lake drained into the ocean, and it was an ocean.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So it did have like a beach shoreline, but not at this time frame, which is crazy because I didn't. It's just crazy to think about, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's our Verdict podcast now providing geological history.
That's right. Always something new. Well, and it would have had to have been the amount of salt in that lake. It would have had to have been an ocean at some point, or at least part of it. But that lake is ridiculously salty. And now we're gearing up for floods in Utah. Not that that's either here nor there, because we have a record-breaking snowpack this year.
Yeah, I heard it's been nuts.
Bigger than 81, which was the last highest one. So we're waiting for more like floods of 83. Anyway, you guys are like, there was a year 1983.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Shut up. All right, let's rate this thing. Alec, you go first, buddy.
I love to go first. So I'll just come out and say it. I think this movie's a 2. It was decently enjoyable to the point where I didn't have an issue going to see it, and I'm not sitting in the theater going, "Wow, this was a mistake." But as far as like great movies go, I don't think you're missing out on anything if you wait to watch his background noise. I think this was a great concept for the sci-fi genre, which has not had a whole lot outside of like Star Wars or Star Trek recently. So I think they had the right idea. I think the production problems that you talked about, JJ, maybe stunted it a little bit to where they just said, okay, fuck it, we're gonna throw everything together and push it out. So I'm really hoping that this doesn't lead to like studios and production kind of leaning away from the sci-fi genre, because there's so much that you can do there when you kind of don't have the limits that other movie types have. So I really hope we still get more, and I love the concept, but as a movie, it just was meh. So it's an easy 2 for me. I won't watch it again unless it's coming on like as background noise.
Yeah, I would agree. It's nothing special, but it could have been way worse. It just felt like it felt disconnected. Like there was just some level of cohesion that was missing. And I'm sure it had something to do with the production issues and the scripting issues and things like that. But yeah, it just felt like it was missing something that just made it an interesting movie, or there was just pieces of interesting stuff surrounded by not so interesting. So yeah, I can't give it an average. So I'm with you. I'm going to give it a 2. I wish it had been better. And, to Adam Driver's credit, like he obviously, as he was supposed to, carried this movie and he was the best part. I did enjoy the girl. Like she was pretty funny. She had some good moments and was pretty heartfelt, but I'm with you. I won't watch that movie again. I don't even know if I'd put it on as background noise. There's better movies that are background noise than even this one. But I think it was overall not conducive for great movie watching, but it had moments that were okay. But yeah, that's all I got for that movie. Mattson, bring us home, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2. Nothing special. Don't go see it in theaters. If you like Adam Driver, he doesn't disappoint. If you like dinosaurs, I guess watch this. You're not missing anything. It's a 2.
I love it. That might be the shortest ratings we've ever given. What were you going to say, Mattson?
I was just going to say that it has nothing to do with an astronaut. So don't. Yeah. It's
funny that they put that in the
Yeah, you're like, he's synopsis. Not an astronaut. He's a guy on a ship. I guess by definition, is that making an astronaut? I don't know.
I think by the actual definition of the word, yes.
Yeah.
I mean
because it's Star Sailor, right?
Word that.
No.
I mean, he's a pilot, right?
I still just going back to what I said at the beginning. This whole they have such advanced tech, and they can go to like wherever they came from, and they didn't see that this massive asteroid belt was coming. That seemed just like I don't know how they didn't see that coming. If they're that advanced, that part just was like, okay, like you guys suck. How do you miss that?
I don't know.
Interns. They were planning the route.
I love it. All right, Alec. Tell everybody where they can find us.
Love to. Thank you for tuning into our review of 65. Great concept, exciting idea, and as JJ has stated before, an accurate representation of how he got to school when he was a kid. If you have made it to this point in the video, leave us a like, comment, or go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you thought of our verdict. Honestly, we value the input, and the only way JJ and Mattson are going to get rid of me is if you listeners tell them to. So go leave a review. Anywho, if you enjoy our content that we put out, we have more, lots more. We are currently going live on Thursdays with The Mandalorian and just recently wrapped up The Last of Us, the HBO show. You can find those episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, as we are on every major podcast platform. Furthermore, if you find yourself becoming a regular listener and enjoy the content we put out, consider joining us on Patreon, where every dollar earned goes towards funding Mattson's movie synopses. Synopsises? Whatever.
Yes.
Special thanks to our current patron, the real Jin Shady. If you were a CGI dinosaur, you'd be the best CGI dinosaur. With that, I will turn it back to our fearless leader, our Colossus of Crash, our Titan of Terror, JJ.
Yeah. Thanks, Alec. Yeah, it was a fun episode, even though it was a weird movie. But with Mattson on mute and us being done, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!